This is the Daily Divider show where we pick a story from each day and give you my take. 7 days, 7 divides. Let's get into it. On Monday, inflation's hovering around the 3% mark, right on the Reserve Bank's limit, but not quite tamed. Economists warn rising council rates and power costs could push it higher, while Prime Minister Christopher Luxon insists Kiwis should focus on the big picture, celebrating progresses from Labour's 7.5% peak. Isn't the big picture the fact that people can't afford the basic necessities to live and to rent? Rent has, if it has gone down, it's because people can't afford it, but on average it has gone up over the decades. And people are starting to not be able to afford power. And you're starting to see people having to have cold showers because of the very fact that they just can't afford the heating that these gentailers and the gentailers prices are putting on them. And then on top of that, you've got the rates rises that I'm sure this government would have loved to seen a solution to if they didn't get rid of the Three Waters enterprise. For all its flaws, there was a solution there. Where's the solution that the National Party is promoting? They've got none for the rates. So I really don't want to hear what Luxon and all his minions are going to talk about. Oh, rates are the problem. Councils are the issue. They should just cap it. When you're the ones that are shifting all the costs, all the capex, all the burden that you can shift over to them to make your own books look better, while you're turning around and saying, "Hey, what are you doing? You're overexerting yourself." That's absurd. I mean, I don't even know what the end goal is for that, but the 3%, the fact that it's gone up for 2.5 or 3% is a result of this government, right? I mean, when it was already trending down through 2023, and we're seeing the benefits of the last two. Whether you like it or not, we were seeing the benefits of the last Labour budget in the last couple of years. We are now seeing the benefits of the new national-led government budgets. And I think you'll start seeing more of it, and as they are going to push, I suspect they're going to push more urgent bills through Parliament because I don't think they think they're going to stay in government any longer next year. You're going to see things decline even further, and more economic sabotage and more economic cannibalism will unfold from this government. And on Tuesday, the government's new non-financial benefit sanctions are barely being used. Just 9 people in 2 months, while more than 13,000 beneficiaries had payments cut. Officials say strict criteria make the new tools almost impossible to apply, as advocates warn most struggling Kiwis are still being punished financially rather than being supported back into work. I mean, even on Tuesday, this is another example of the National Party and the overall government, but specifically the National Party, because they are the major party, and they have a history of doing this, of cutting people down, dragging people down by the heels for the sake of self-responsibility, when in reality it is an economic landmine that we will wreck our own country for this idea of self-sustainability, which is absolutely sure, completely okay, completely fine. I'm not against self-responsibility. But if people can't afford their rent and can't afford living costs, should they just die? Because you don't want them as homeless. I mean, I'm sure if the government stays in government again in the next term, I'm sure they'll love to see some anti-homeless enterprising be put forward. But I mean, back to this topic, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get more homeless inhabitants. I mean, you're already seeing it right now with the fact that they've completely cut any emergency housing, and you're getting thousands of people on the streets, creating a culture of homeless. No one wants to see that. I don't think I'm the only one. I don't like seeing homeless. I'm a bit of a I, I'm not a perfect person. I don't like it when I see a homeless person, but I don't want to see them bloody die. I want to see them have a good life. I want to see them have a fucking roof over their head. I just don't want to see them, lying on the floor. And this is what this government is doing. And apparently they love that. They love homeless people because they don't want to see them, like they're another species muddying up the walls of their own state houses. I mean, I saw an article a couple of days ago saying that there were 600 uninhabited state houses. For all the maintenance problems that they might have, maybe there's a couple of them with broken pipes, maybe a couple of them don't have enough insulation. Why aren't they being worked on? Sure, there are thousands that are in the waiting line for state housing. You've got 600. You've got 600 state houses from that article. And they're not trying. They're not trying. And I think people need to realize this. There is an action being made by this government, more specifically the National Party, that they're doing it. It's like the tough on crime action. It's meaningless. It's a buzzword. They don't really get the issue. All they know to do is to just put a hacksaw to the current system, and once they see the numbers trickle down, they don't look at the extenuating circumstances and the results of that number ticking down, like inflation. They just applaud themselves and say, "Hey," and use it as a, and it's worked for years, and I just hope that it's not going to work again next year. I really want to make this clear because I think I might have been a bit too not coy on it. I think you should have self-responsibility. I mean, when it comes to, I have my issues with student allowance, as in I don't qualify for it, but it's not a personal one. But I think things like benefits like that should incentivize saving, right? I don't think just because you earn more than a threshold that you can theoretically pay for yourself, that should be, hypothetically in my world, that should be paying for your living costs, and the extra money that you earn on top of that should be going to your savings that you can save for your future. I mean, if you're a student and you're earning student allowance, saving your money for future so you can pay off your student loan. I mean, it's common sense. It keeps the economy ticking, but I mean does that not encourage self-responsibility? Like you will get effed over in the future, but obviously there are some nuance, and there might need to be means testing around that. Absolutely. But the current system is not working, and I think the Labour Party need to reckon with that, because they've got some responsibility, and they've got a lot of responsibility for this crisis that they've seen. They didn't do enough in the last couple of terms, in my opinion. On Wednesday, aviation is booming again, with Jetstar expanding, Auckland Airport growing, and the government hailing tourism as an economic win. But behind the optimism, aviation emissions are rising fast, already 9% of New Zealand's total, and on track to triple by 2050. While the government weighs whether to include international flights in its net zero target, critics say its aviation action plan lacks real climate measures and is dominated by industry interests, not environmental accountability. It's really funny, isn't it? This is the whole National Party motto: cross your fingers and hope things get better. That's the whole party's motto, and it's been like that since I've been alive, since the key years, I guess. There's this idea that we create the conditions for economic growth, which is just another term for saying we're gonna do fuck all, and we hope the housing market and the agriculture sector and tourism does better. That's it. Nothing else. We hope those sectors hold us up. And right now, of course, aviation's going to boom after COVID. And the fact that, ideally, I think that party will want us to become a Dubai, want us to become a Monaco, want us to become just a museum, sideshow where we do a funny little haka dance. And oh, look at that. They're unusually good at rugby for a team of 5 million. How cute, how quaint. I think that's all this party. I don't think that party respects this country at all. Look, but tourism is important, right? The Lord of the Rings brought us a lot of growth, and the soft power that it brought through was important. And tourism does bring in a lot of soft power for this country, which is important. So I'm not saying otherwise. But if you're so concentrated on bringing in people for a set temporary amount of time, not worrying about the people already living in this country, already having to deal with the cost here, something really, really wrong. And on top of that, when it comes to Fonterra, just a little bit of a side note, if you're so concentrated on the market, so concentrate with complete disregard to your base of consumers, the base of consumers in this country, that you're not willing to consider, and that goes for the National Party as well, that you're not willing to consider a two-tiered pricing system for this country, and you want to stick to the market when it's been going so well for us, something's really, really wrong. The point is, tourism is great, but let's just not. This is not going to save our economy. And on Thursday, the government's top negotiator says it's a mystery why strikes by teachers, doctors, and nurses are still going ahead, insisting talks were close to a deal before unions walked away. Tens of thousands joined the nationwide action demanding pay rises that keep up with inflation. The government claims the strikes are politically driven, while unions say they're fighting for fair pay and safe conditions, a clash that is becoming a defining test of public trust this government's handling of essential workers. I don't really think I spoke enough on the union strike action on the last podcast of this episode. I didn't do it enough, and I didn't speak enough on the cheekiness and the politicization of this government, specifically even the public service commissioner, purposeful, systematic attacking of the institutions that have made this country, of all the partial institutions that have made this country what it is, as an union, the union infrastructure. The cheekiness of lying, outright lying, Collins and then the government itself lying and saying that the union was not willing to negotiate paying conditions. They were just willing to they just wanted to negotiate Palestine, when they themselves set the conditions of the meeting, saying that they weren't going to negotiate paying conditions. And that Palestine wasn't the only subject. It is willful badgering. And they know what they're doing. They are lying. It is systematic and willful badgering of our workers, our white-collar workers, our teachers, our nurses, our doctors, our firefighters. People who break their fucking back for not good enough pay, I have to be honest. Not good enough. And then they've got the gall, earning hundreds of thousands of dollars, getting pay increases above 8%, consistently, they've got the gall. And on top of that, they've got a lot of free days, and then they've got the gall to sit there and say they don't work hard enough. You know, they're politicizing it. You're the politicians. You're the fuckers politicizing it just because you think they're politicizing it. Mate, you might be in the wrong in this one. No. I mean, I don't really know what else to say, really. I think the whole country, or most of you might got some dipshit uncle on a group chat saying, oh, these teachers, they're taking too much from our country, blah, 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 blah. Absolute fucking retards. But the majority of this country are well behind these people. I sure am. You know, I had a couple of annoying teachers, didn't like.
had it in for me. Doesn't mean I want to middle finger, reject the whole system, all the teaching, and become a bloody anarchist. Even anarchists, I'm sure there's probably, even the anarchists in this country are probably for it. So that's probably unfair to them. Everybody, most people with a brain, which is most of this country, 4 million, maybe. You know, the Aucklanders, they seem to be much devoid of life themselves, no offense, are for these people. And I mean, you can have an argument of what the result is of the next election. You can go back and forth. It doesn't matter because it's always been the result, and consecutive national governments have been elected because of it. I mean, before mixed member proportional was very, very possible, and you had most national governments elected. Not most, rather, you had national governments elected under the popular vote. They just had their votes spread out. So maybe in the future, you could start seeing, maybe John Key was a fluke. Maybe you could start seeing the public seeing the government for what it is, and seeing the National Party for what it is, as complete economic cannibals and buffoons and ankle draggers of this country. Maybe you could see them go the way of the dodo, or go the way of the Liberal Party in Australia. I mean, I don't know. I think that maybe we haven't seen the benefit of MMP yet. Look, I'm just spitballing here. And on Friday, Winston Peters took his fight for parliamentary supremacy to the Oxford Union, arguing New Zealand courts have overstepped their role and undermined democracy, citing rules of the treaty, resource law, and tikanga. Peters said the judges were rewriting legislation meant for elected representatives, insisting Parliament, not the judiciary, should have the final say. His motion was defeated 140 votes to 70. I'm trying to find the video of or clips of Winston Peters' Oxford debate, but I haven't been so lucky. Maybe it's been uploaded now. I haven't checked it today. It's pretty interesting. I mean, he's a good debater. He's getting old, but he is a good debater. Credit to him, and he's a very good interviewee, and he's a smart guy, very smart guy. I slag him off a lot, and I'll get to the point of the segment. I slag him off a lot, but I do respect him because he knows how to play the game. He's a very good politician, and he's got some decent principles. After all, he is a descendant, not a direct descendant of Muldoon, but of the ideology that Muldoon promoted in traditional conservative economic conservatism, New Zealand economic conservatism in this country. On the subject of parliamentary supremacy, look, Parliament creates the laws, and then the courts follow them. There is some misdirection. There's some judgment that courts take around them, but they are experts, and they've always followed the expert of the expertise, and they've always followed the law. This idea that courts are he's using the Trumpism, right? He is using the cancerous Americanization of our politics to say that the courts have split, and the courts can split off, or there have been consecutive times courts have split from Parliament and done their own decisions. That is completely absurd. I think it's incredibly dangerous, and there is a very thin line that, sure, okay, there's a danger for unelected members of a specific branch to take hold of the whole executive and decision making, and we create an undemocratic force. Okay, sure. But the same thing can be true the other way around. I am kind of for a semi-technocratic system where we have experts in important places that know their shit making no and being a part of those policy decisions. There is a danger, and we can experience it, and we kind of have to an extent, of elected individuals that don't know enough of the system, that don't know enough of the systematic issues, putting their head over judicial decisions because they don't like the look of them. I think there's a great danger in that. And on Saturday, two subtle signs this week pointed towards New Zealand's next election year. First, the 2026 parliamentary sitting calendar, front-loaded with early sessions, hints that the election could fall around November 7th. Second, the Standing Orders Review has kicked off, with MPs and officials debating how Parliament should run the next term. Not much really happened on Saturday. This article did come out. I mean, the election could be at October 7th. I don't know. It wasn't such a it didn't take a genius to realize it would be in October or November. So I mean, it's almost smack bang in the middle of those 2 months. So yeah, it doesn't take a genius to discover that I don't approve of the repeal of the offshore ban, not just because of climate change, but because of you are misleading this country into an economic dead end where we have to import LNG. We don't even have enough gas reserves in this country to satiate it, and we've known that for decades. But for some reason, these losers in government seem really intent, and I wonder why. I wonder why they are so intent on more gas, more oil, drill, baby, drill, when there's nothing left, where it's sucked dry. I wonder why. I wonder what's incentivizing them to I wonder what's incentivizing them to do such an idiotic thing. Look, I've made my praise on the Future Fund. I think the big positive of that fund is that it can be a part of investing in new energy enterprise in this country. You know, I've got my opinion on buying back the Gene Taylor's shares and moving those profits maybe into this future fund would be a very good idea. This really does need to be a bipartisan thing, but it won't be, because you've got one side that is completely bored, which makes it very difficult to have a sane debate and insane discussion, because I don't think this is a genuine discussion. I mean, you can read the article of what I'm referring to. This is not a good faith argument. Simon Court is not making a good faith argument for gas exploration. He's doing it because his party is paid to do it. That is the only reason. Just says the Labour Party is only there paid because they're paid by the workers. And the Green Party are only paid because they're paid by the workers as well. Let's not forget them. You know, I have my problems with the Green Party, but they're a good solid outfit. If you like this video, click like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay up to date with the weekly breakdown, the daily divide, and other bonus content.